first of all, let me just ask the panelists, as we're talking about how governments are using big data to make us happy, it's about how governments are using big data full stop. In terms of big data, what we've been talking about this morning is that it's not just about collecting big data, it's how we process this big data. We talked a little bit earlier, one of our presenters was talking about energy, which is a crucial thing for the UAE as we move away from fossil fuel generated into other forms of energy. The information flow must be absolutely critical. So what is it that the ministry is doing to tackle the use of big data? Perhaps we can start with that.
Thank you. Actually, the Ministry of Energy has several initiatives toward big data. And one of the projects that we have already accomplished is the smart stations, where we have collaborated with all the petrol stations companies in the UAE to develop an app that is handy for every citizen and make them happy, so they can have access to all the petrol stations through their mobile phone. It uses the GPS system in the phone, and you can have all the services available in these petrol stations, their contact number if you need to contact them. This is the simplest application that we have made, and it is very useful, and anyone can use it and benefit from it. Therefore, you can find the nearest petrol station to you by just downloading our app, and it will take you through the GPS system through these petrol stations. And yes, the petrol companies have collaborated with us with this information and updating this information on periodical period. And we have got a very positive feedback from our customers and citizens on this specific application.
I think we're going to be looking very closely at that application and others that may come on stream in the not too distant future. Let me ask the next question to Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Al-Zaffin, looking at infrastructure control as we move away into Dubai's new economy and the UAE's new economy. What is it that the municipality, or how has the municipality addressed the gathering of big data and the formulating of the results from the analysis of that big data?
At Dubai, we're not looking. At Dubai, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At Dubai, we're not looking at it as just Dubai Municipality. We're looking at it as government of Dubai. There is a we know there is an M initiative, and there is smart government initiative, and there is smart city. And there is the big data issue. We're looking at it as a government, a whole government, a holistic approach. We are trying to achieve, our goal is to make everybody happy in the city. Doing that, we have already a committee has been established as an open data committee. And there is, of course, we classify data. Big data is this, what does it mean? Small data and a big size. But we have to classify it according to our need. We have it as open data, which is open freely, will be for the public. And we have it in the other way as shared data, where we're trying to provide integrated services. You don't have to stop in any entity. For example, you want to start a business. You're required to go through different entities. By integrating data, you just have to go to the main entity to get your permit, and all the process will be steps. All other organizations will be in the same process. You don't have to visit different. We're trying to be efficient with it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to see departments being integrated. We're not just talking about municipality, we're talking about the government as an entity which is integrated, where information can be shared for the good of all those departments. Let's turn now to Saudi Arabia, just across the border, where the economy is slightly different from the UAE, but nevertheless an important economy for all businesses. I can bet that some of you in this room today are looking towards Saudi Arabia to open your next branch office or even go there yourselves. So let's ask Mr. Munthir Al-Ansari now, the Director General for Tourism Information and Research for the Saudi Commission for Tourism and Antiquities. What sort of approach are you taking to the collection and analysis of big data when it comes to your department and for Saudi Arabia as a whole?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let me firstly thank the organizers of this event that focusing only on the big data in the region, and it's very useful, and I wish the successful for all. The way we are dealing at the Saudi Commission for Tourism, it's coming from the role of the government, because the role of government is to serve its citizens and also the visitors of the government, which we are most involved with tourism and tourists who are coming to the country. So for that, there are a huge effort on data collection and analyzing the data and utilize it for the benefit of the users and also for the benefit of the government bodies. But still we are in a stage of benefiting the industry of tourism by having the data for them available, research available for them. Even the data collected by the primary data that's collected by our commission, or the secondary data that are available with other governmental agencies. So having this data available for the investors and businesses will help a lot to improve the tourism business in Saudi Arabia. This is the main effort that we are doing now, and based on that we are working on different applications that helping the businesses or the tourists themselves and integrate all the data within big tourism data bank that allow the insights and analysis and utilization of the data. We believe that this data should be accessible for the users who are providing us with this data. Some organization concerns of only using the data for internal use, but for us mainly we give the priority to the external use of the data for the general public, as long as the investors and the decision makers within the government.
So summarizing that, it's the use of the information from the data, everything from construction of infrastructure or creation of infrastructure through the businesses to the end user. So this is what you're focusing on, so that the end user can also benefit from everything in between.
Yes.
Let's be a little bit more excited inside as well. Pedro, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Are these guys doing a good job? And this is Pedro Pereira. He's head of big data for SAP MENA. So I am putting him on the spot. Now you've had 2 seconds to think while I was doing that. Are they doing a good job?
I guess they are. This region is an emerging region, and we see that there is an opportunity that is different from anywhere else. Here in Middle East, we see that the organizations, the government organizations, they are forward-thinking, and they have innovation at their heart. So the traction that we have in the region now to adopt innovation, especially here in Dubai, when we see that they are very much committed to smart city initiatives, and also what we have seen already all over the place. So we can consider that most of the things that we have in Saudi Arabia, we have in the UAE, we have in Qatar, all over the region, it is already a smart initiative. It is already ready for big data. So when we see the potential, this potential is aligned with leadership and vision. And this is what is required to make sense of big data. So for me, I'm very proud to be part of this panel because I see that we have a lot to do together on the way forward.
In terms of what you just said, that big data is already here, once again, some of our presenters this morning were talking about big data. We're part of it now. It's too late. You've missed the boat if you're not part of it. I can't remember exactly what those statements were, but there was something akin to that. Let's turn back again, please, to Mr. Mohammed from Dubai Municipality. In terms of the future, I believe you probably have a very clear mandate from your superiors and probably from the boss himself about exactly what he wants to see in terms of infrastructure and also information when it comes to the growth of the UAE.
In a government level, we are building a platform that will be available for the public, government, and private sector. this is one. The other, we know, I mean, we're trying to move people from, everybody asking for report on different type of reports. We're trying to move them to analytic presentation, which will make easier for them to take a decision with regard anything, any data we want to publish. There is data modeling. There is now geospatial data that can be integrated. We're looking at it to have a dashboard, personal dashboard. We think we are looking forward for crowdsourcing. We don't think only government should do apps or application. We think the public will provide different apps. If you give the example of UK, for example, London, for example. In transport, there is a few number of apps done by the government or the entity, and more than 100 done by crowdsourcing. It's the future where you get involved everybody. We look at energy, for example, energy saving. I mean, people should know how much is their consumption, and will be open on the dashboard. They should know what's your neighborhood average consumption, so you can manage your consumption from data coming from DIWA or data coming from different organizations. We think data is the future. Data already is a commodity. We know that from Google, for example. If you want to tap to Google and use it as for a business side, you have to pay. There is a different model followed and different how to you're going to utilize data. We believe data will make life easier for everybody if it's shared and integrated through a system.
If you looked at the exponential growth of that graph that she had to today, it's almost vertical. So Isha, let me ask you and put you on the spot. The speed of growth with information just whizzing around, is it growing too fast for us to keep up with? Or are we okay? Are we managing? Will we manage to be able to contain the information, hone down the information to the information we want to use, and put that into our business models for government instrumentalities to start with? Do you think we're okay with that?
We have to go very fast. It is not like we can stop and order or hold. For us as a Ministry of Energy, we have a very challenging thing is like the energy consumption in the UAE. For example, one of our approaches is smart building, smart green building approach, because most of the energy, we have a very high usage of energy, and almost 70% of the building bills comes out of associated with the cooling system. So one of our plan for smart city is like smart meters to be implemented with collaboration with other entities in the UAE, just towards energy efficiency. So these has to go very fast, because applying these meters, these sensors, I know it takes time, but we should cope. We should make it very fast, because now we are just measuring it, and we have like a KPI, national KPI, to be completed by 2020, which is like very less time. So we are in the very first stages of measuring these data and information, so we have to go very fast.
Speed is really of the essence, and I've seen the growth of the UAE since I've lived here for some 15 or 16 years. Sustainability plays a big part in that, doesn't it? Because to be energy efficient also means to try to be as sustainable as we possibly can. I think we've got some way to go on that, although we have made a great start. Let's turn to Saudi Arabia and look at tourism again, and look at something beyond tourism when it comes to sustainability. We see the hotel industry, and I was fortunate enough to be at a hotel conference just last week, looking at the number of international hotel organizations, large groups as well as small boutique operators, are looking to come into the region in the next 5 years, and their growth is almost as exponential as the graph we saw earlier. How are we going to implement that growth in a sustainable way? Let's look at that from a Saudi Arabian point of view.
This one is better. The sustainability is very important for the businesses and for the governments. especially when you need to plan for longer periods, and you need to have sustainable industry that generate income and employment and support the economy in general. For tourism, it's very essential, the planning and sustainability of the tourism business. To us, we use the big data to help for the plans, for the strategic plannings, and also for project plannings to have them sustainable. This is one of the common uses, or the first usage of the big data or data analysis in the tourism development in Saudi Arabia and even internationally in other countries. The World Tourism Organization, the UNWTO, mainly focus, one of the first area of focusing there is building the system of tourism statistics and tourism satellite account, which is supposed to give information about the contribution of tourism into the economies. So the first tool to measure the sustainability of the tourism industry in the economy and understand the future with well plans and implementation of these plans. The second usage of this big data and information in tourism business mainly with communication, because in this industry you need to communicate with everybody all around the world. So utilizing the data, and you have like good marketing segmentation and marketing communication strategy, you need to have the good data, and you need to have insights about this data to sustain the demand for your services and your destination. And this is one of the biggest trends that now being utilized worldwide and also in the region here.
There are measurements, of course, for buildings like the LEED system, the BREEAM system, and so on and so forth. Let me turn to Pedro then and ask him, what mandates do you receive when you're working with SAP here in the region? What mandates do you receive that include high levels of sustainability? It's about saving money, of course, to be more efficient, but sustainability goes a lot further than that. We're talking about the future. We're talking about our children in the future living in the region. So tell us a little bit more about what mandates you receive.
The thing about big data is that data is an asset, right? So like money, like equipment. So the same way that the Industrial Revolution brought us to the next level in terms of equipment, we have now big data, Internet of Things, all this coming to the knowledge work. So it will have a huge impact to us. Very soon, most of the knowledge workers will have their things automated, just because the computer can do things much better than us sometimes. So what can we do about that? So we need to adapt. We need to use big data. We need to use those machines to augment our capacity. So in order to do that, we need to think differently. We need to partner with those machines. We need to use them for collaboration in this knowledge work. So the mandate that we have is that data is an asset. So we need to treat it properly, first and foremost. And secondly, that the amount of data is increasing in a way that we don't know. I mean, for one city, we might be talking about petabytes of data. So I've seen an article that today, Facebook alone is having 100 petabytes of data. So maybe in one city, we'll be talking about 25 petabytes of data, maybe half of it, maybe more or less the same. Just the metro generates every day 1 terabyte of data. So we're talking about treating this data in a way that we augment our capabilities. So in order to do that, you need the skills in the market. You need technology that is also sustainable. So one of the risks that we have around big data is when you think of technologies that you don't know if they will be there tomorrow. So a lot of emerging technologies are there. However, what makes you sustainable is having something that will be there not in 5 years. 5 years is too short. You're talking about a sustainability that when we are in 2030 horizon for the organization, for the government, for everybody, you will have something that is there from the beginning. So the decisions we have to make today will affect us in the long term.
All of the ability to be able to create that falls on legislation from government, first of all, and then how much of that falls on private enterprise to be able to support that legislation that government brings down? Is it a great deal, would you say? We can open this to the panel.
When we talk about big data in a government scenario, you're talking about bringing the data from all the entities together. And of course, it requires the government to have the vision first and foremost. And I can see that some governments that we are working worldwide, they're having this vision of having a mandate, a law that will bring the data, at least the raw data, the lowest granularity of the data, in one single place. Now think about this. If you have the data from all the entities in one single place, so you can have the dashboards, so you can provide to the citizens applications, what can you do? So it's near unthinkable the opportunities that we have when we consolidate all the data. We take this from the original format. And I will tell you one more thing. It's not about only visualizing the data. It's about we see from the events to the actions, enabling the government to adjust, to self-tuning the services on the fly, from the events to the action. So that's what we're talking about.
Can further legislation help with that? Perhaps Mr. Al-Ansari, you could answer that.
I want to add to this discussion about the sustainability. It's the most important tool that need to be used for making or keeping up the sustainability is utilizing the big data in scenario analysis, for having scenario analysis for the future, which help to overcome the risk, the coming risks into the country or into the business. And about the legalization, it's very important to one of the areas that there are shortage in the current business of the big data, which the governance item and the regulation. This business is not very well regulated even worldwide. And we are not away from the misuse of this data, especially when it comes to the government, when all government's data are being located in one single place and having accessibility for millions. The issue of security and misuse of the data is on the top of the agendas of all governmental bodies who are working on this area.
Let me ask Isha one other question just on the subject that we were talking about. And we're also coming from sustainability into a smart city, which is about sustainability at the end of the day. How far are we away from some of what we've seen as almost science fiction techniques to be able to monitor traffic flow, to be able to monitor energy consumption in the smallest and largest of buildings? How far away do you think we are from being able to say, we've done it, we're there?
Actually, we are not very far in this project. As I told you, we are, and we have also changed our approach. It was like top-down objective, but now we have to go back to bottom-up, because you know big data, because we are serving the customer, and we need to know what is their needs first. And after doing that, we will start accomplishing. But now, most of the companies, they have the smart meters. You can just purchase it and put it there just to get the data. And once we have the data, we can analyze it. And after analyzing, we can predict and anticipate what will happen or how it's going on now. We can track it. And then upon that, we can make some strategies towards energy efficiency. This is our plan in this area.
Mr. Mohammed, how far away are we in Dubai, for example, and let's talk about the UAE, from being able to monitor and gather the sort of data that you would need in the government to be able to implement some of the changes that we would like to make in the next 10 years? How far away from being able to implement that data collection?
You know, data not only reside with government, Data reside with the private sector. Data, there is structured data, there is unstructured data, there is semi-structured data. If you look at it, we already have data. Like according to IBM, 90% of the data now is available, created in the last 2 years. Think about all of these sensors, the mobiles you have in your hand, how many data they create generating. So we are in Dubai, we are already finalizing a law as a policy, and we are looking into establishing already a policy. We're working on a framework, as I said, a platform, and we believe soon by mid next year we'll have data available. We have targeted first quarter to have the platform, 2016 platform to be ready, and data should be ingested from the department first, government, and then we'll go to the public, private sector, and will be available certain data. We cannot go. We're looking at different experience worldwide. They take a lot of time to provide the data, and we are structuring our putting the methodology on the structure and the mandate required to make data available for the public, or as shared data, or as an open data.